done. We're being joined by a good friend of mine. He writes for The Standard, and the shoes on the other foot. This time, I get to grill Tim Kawakami. What's going on, Tim?
Tommy, what's going on, man? Hey, is Rado still in your backyard? Is he still wandering around back there? I was wondering.
Hold on a second.
You never know.
No, he left. Yeah, he left. I'm not sure. We're going to have to get you in the backyard one of these
absolutely.
days.
I can't believe it's too bad. Our schedules didn't quite fit this time, but I'm getting that backyard. I'm getting in there, Tommy.
Well, that's okay because, look, you're busy this week. We got a lot to talk about. But also it rained today. The weather sucked. We got to wait till the weather gets better and we can sit back out there. Nice 70 degrees, have a cocktail and enjoy the time instead of shivering. So, but I do appreciate you joining me for a little bit.
You got it, Tom.
Are you a buyer of Girl Scout cookies?
I am an eater of Girl Scout cookies. Okay. I have bought them more than a few times, but mostly people get them and I do eat them. And the Samoas, those are the ones I eat. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just Thin Mints. That's it.
Okay. Well, at all times. But those are it's like I've gotten a few times. Now this has been a few years because for some reason I guess my grocery store doesn't have them out there as much. But when I bought them, it's like they have like limited supply sometimes. Like they don't have all the options, and you just get what they have. But I am a cookie guy. I'm a cookie guy. That's one thing Bob Myers and I are really bonded of. We're cookie guys. I just love cookies, and I got to cut down on it sometimes. So sometimes you can't do it when the Girl Scout cookies are coming around. But I am absolutely a cookie. They cut that down at the Warriors media room. They used to be cookies all the time.
Really?
And now all kinds of different stuff at halftime. So there you go. Inside stuff.
The Girl Scouts run out of cookies like the beach runs out of sand. I've never seen them run out of cookies.
Well, sometimes they have
and they're like David Copperfield, like, hey, Thin Mints, I got some more.
Well, they see you coming, Tommy. That's the thing. They see you coming. They go.
They see a mark. I'm definitely a mark. It's very, very, very sad. All right, let's get to that. I want to get real quick. I want to get to Niners and get to Steph Curry, but give me your thoughts on the Niners, because I wasn't all that upset that they were losing some of these players, but you got to bring somebody in at some point to fill these spots, which is why I always tell everybody, look, if you want to panic, but maybe wait until the offseason's over to see how this whole thing fills out. But it is a little, I guess, I'm not alarmed, but I can see where people would be like, hey, the exit door is being used a lot more than the entrance door right now for the 49ers.
Yeah, it seems to be accelerated. I think that's the point where I draw the line. Is like you understood they were telling us. I had been writing about it. There was going to be a financial, little bit of a pressure. Deebo Samuel, part of that. We know all the names: Aaron Banks and Travaris Ward.
Yeah, Greenlaw.
When they get Greenlaw, when they get to that point, I think Greenlaw was kind of the borderline one. I'll just put
me too. Yeah. Okay.
The people in the building who understand the locker room are saying that one is one. If you're going to pay up for anybody, you pay it for Trey Greenlaw. I understand why you don't. The injuries and all these things, and they've just gone through these injuries. But a team that's just gone through all these injuries and has all these big contracts, wouldn't you want to have backups ready to go? You can't just draft a guy in the fourth round and go, okay, this guy's going to play 900 snaps.
Yeah.
That's the part that's confusing people. And again, people in there, not the top people. The top people are not really talking right now, Tommy, not surprisingly. Yeah. I get it. But it's like, if you do have Nick Bosa at $34 million a year, and you're going to sign Brock Purdy for 50 or whatever it's going to be, and I still think they're going to, and you have all these other, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, like these are players that are still on the team. They're still there. That part I understand. These are good players. They're paying them a lot of money. Wouldn't you want to have backups that you could count on after you just went through one of the historic waves of injuries any team's going to have? You do need backups. Like, you do need these guys who give you the snaps. They're not the great players. They're not the guys you're going to be in the Pro Bowl, but they can give you productive snaps, 300 of them, 400 of them. You can't just go, I don't know who's going to be the left defensive end. I don't know who's going to be the backup. I don't know who's going to be the left defensive tackle. In football, I know coaches and I know personnel people. This is not how they normally plan it, Tommy. Especially if you're trying to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know that the 49ers are trying to win a Super Bowl anymore, which is a sad thing for where they've been and for the credit that we've all given them. They've paid up to get this roster as ready to win a Super Bowl as they can. They have not done it. Understood. They went 6-11 last year. Understood. Very expensive roster. I think we all were saying logically you can pare back. You don't need to be top 3 after being 6-11 with a bunch of guys who got injured. But you do need a baseline, right? You do need some amount of people coming in and say, okay, we can field a defense that's acceptable and maybe can be good if certain things hit. If certain things hit now, they're still going to get hit by injuries. You're still going to be thin. Where do they go from that? This is, I think, the issue. It's the extent of it. It's pushing this beyond like even a reduced level to now a bare bones level to where are they going to go? That I understand, coming from where they used to add every year, Tom. They did used to add, and I gave them credit for it. Well, here, if you give somebody credit for adding, then how can I say, oh, it's great that you've just subtracted like time? So there's got to be, it can't be everything's great. Everything can't be great. I know it is in some places, but every decision you make, if it's the exact opposite, can't be great. And that's the moment where I think in with the 49ers, if you went one way and you have many of the same players, now you're going the exact opposite way. My guess is I don't think those players are too happy about it. That's just I don't know this. I can't imagine the guys who've been in there and lined up with all these, with all these players next to them are thrilled that they don't know who they're going to be lining up with in the next few years.
Yeah. I mean, look, the way I looked at it, I think as a whole, it's alarming. The only one that really kind of, I thought hit me was Greenlaw, just because he was a really good player if he's healthy, but he was also, I always said him and Kittle and Debo kind of brought the thump on that team. They were the physicality. They brought that intensity to the squad. And I think they're going to miss that from Debo and Greenlaw. I could make a case that, look, yeah, they get rid of Debo. It's the money. It's the production. Get rid of Greenlaw because the injuries and all that. But then it just kept going. Like individually, I think I can make a case for letting each one of those guys go. But then as a whole, as you say, where do you go? I mean, did they do a LA Angels draft and get like 10 defensive linemen, like just and see what hits out there? Because I'm not sure which way they're going to go. They got to draft at least 2 defensive linemen, offensive linemen, linebacker. I mean,
center.
I mean, it's
center, right?
Center.
Yeah. It's the accumulation. They're going to draft. They got 11 draft picks. They could get 6 good players, but to get any starter out of a rookie is a lot. It really is. They got some good players last year, but they didn't do it 2 years ago. They didn't do it 3 years ago. There's no guarantee they're going to get 5 productive players. There's no guarantee they're getting 2 productive players. But I get that. Again, I get this. You could have done all of this, if you just don't release Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins. Like those guys were not the difference between you getting under the cap or not, or you even having enough money under the cap to sign somebody. Those were players that were, by the way, after they released them, were signed in like 20 seconds, Tommy. Now, that isn't always the proof of anything. I think it's a proof of some value. They just did that to cut money. Like that wasn't those were not football. They're not good enough for this. We need to move this money around and we'll get somebody else who's better. No, that was strictly money, not cap space, cash. And that's the part I think where if you're Nick Bosa or Trent Williams, or if you're a fan that's really looking at this, or maybe if you're Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, I don't know that part. Again, they've gone pretty far under, Tommy, these days. They're way under the radar, and that's okay. They'll have to talk at the owners' meetings. I won't be there, but they will talk. If you're trying to win championships, this is not how you do it. And I thought that was the measure. I really did. Right? But you don't put up division championship banners up. Didn't somebody say that? And that's a person I praised recently. I have praised Jet. I have praised him to his face for the money they've invested in this. It's a very valuable franchise. It's up to him to put whatever money he wants into it. They put a lot of it back in. They're taking it out now, Tom. And I don't think they're going to be terrible. I don't think that. And I think they're going to re-sign Brock. They're going to extend Brock Purdy. We'll see. Now, I think they're going to, I still think they're smart. I just think they've gone to this extent in something triggered them, because it wasn't, they were going to sign Joey Bosa. Like they wanted to sign Joey Bosa. How do you go from wanting to sign Joey Bosa to not signing him and cutting Leonard Floyd and cutting Malik Collins and moving on from Juszczyk? And like there's an imbalance here that I think I want to raise. Again, I'm sure I've gotten Jed mad at me, but that's okay. You just explain this in some way. What's the rationale other than you're partially tanking a season, and seasons are valuable in the NFL. These are guys' careers. This is fans. I don't always write from the fan perspective because I think sometimes you can get overreactionary when you do that. But they're putting a lot of money down for these season tickets, and with the belief that you were going for a Super Bowl, it is a shock for them not to do that, not put the pedal down. They're not just not putting the pedal down. They're like braking. They're like jamming on the brakes as they're going around the turn here. And everyone's going to feel some of that, except for the people who just defend the franchise no matter what. And I get that. That happens. I'm cool with it because, this is the NFL. You have a lot of different viewpoints. But just look at it. Just tell me the Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins makes a football decision. Where's the football decision in cutting them signing quickly with other teams, and you don't get anything back from it other than you don't have to pay them? That seems like it's not even a bargain. It's like a deal they've made with themselves that they don't have to be as good as they possibly can. And if you're a fan, I don't think you'd like to hear that. I don't think the locker room might hear that.
I would probably push back a little bit with the usage of tanking, because I don't know that you have Purdy and McCaffrey and Williams and Bosa and Warner and Lenore and guys like that and not think you're going to have a chance to compete. It may not be as good as it was the last couple of years, but I think you got to assume we still have some great players. You mentioned that earlier. I don't know that when I think tanking, I just think gutting a franchise.
No, you're right. It's a different use of the phrase. I don't mean tanking, trying to be bad. I'm saying not making every effort you can to be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they've done. Again, I've praised them for it in the past.
Yeah.
So I think it would be hypocritical for me not to criticize them for when they don't do it. And it's to the extreme. I was ready to say Debo, not Greenlaw maybe, but to some extent Greenlaw if it had to happen that way. Javarius Ward, Aaron Banks, like a lot of those, like, okay, use check, theoretical, but it's when one after the other, after the other, after the other, and you don't bring anybody in. You're not, what are they saving the space here for? So that's, I don't think they're going to be bad. I'll say that again. And I think they're going to pay up to some extent, but when you're pushing all in to try to win and you don't, and then you stop pushing all in, doesn't that mean you're less likely even than you were before to win? And that's part of what we're doing here. That's why I think, the point of this is to try to put the best thing. Now, listen, the Rams model, I've written it, I mentioned it. Yes, I think that's what they're going to do. They're retooling on the fly, and you draft great and you hit some other things and you can still be good. That Rams have done it. It's really hard, Tom. It's really hard to find another team that's done that. So you're using this one model that it's really hard to do, and you don't quite have the young players that can do that at this moment. So you're going to have to draft them, and you might miss on some draft picks. It is theoretically possible that the 49ers will miss on some draft picks, Tom. And then where are you? Where you're trying to be the Rams, and you end up being something worse. And that is, again, that's a hard thing for me to say. When I praise them for things, I got to criticize them for when they do the opposite.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We're talking to Tim Kawakami at the Standard. Nice enough to join us. Is having Brock Purdy play out the last year of his contract a tenable situation?
I don't think it is, although I now think it might happen. I don't know. I just think, what kind of signal are you sending to him? Like, we like you, but not enough to actually pay you. It would be really hard line, man. I mean, it's hard to think of a time that's really worked out great for a team. Lamar Jackson, I guess, but I think it would be rough. Now, is it possible? I think it is possible. I just don't, because they can franchise tag him again, and it just isn't the signal I think you want to send to a quarterback. 25 years old, who's got a long career ahead of him, if you really believe in him. Now, if they don't really believe in him, if they're not sure that, I think he and Kyle Shanahan kind of go together. If you don't if you're not quite sure about Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not saying that they aren't, but I'm saying there are signals that they don't think they're going to win this year. So what does that say about the Kyle Shanahan regime? I think that becomes an interesting conversation. If Purdy does not sign an extension, if we hear the 49ers have lowballed him, which I think you have to say is a slight chance given what's happened recently, then we're going to have to raise those issues. Does this mean they don't believe in Kyle Shanahan? Okay, it's their right, but
yeah,
once you start messing around with the quarterback, you mess around with the foundational stuff with the entire franchise, is what I think. And maybe they're ready to do that. I don't think so. I think they're going to sign Purdy. Everything I've heard is they're going to sign Purdy, but everything I heard was they were not going to do this. Again, I'd heard that they were going to do some of this financial stress was happening, but I didn't think all of it was. And again, I don't think people in the building were expecting all of this. Not everybody. I mean, I'm sure there were people clued in on this, but I don't think everybody was braced for all this. So then that puts Purdy on, we'll see. We'll see. What if Purdy says, I don't know if I want to be a part of this? Again, I don't think that's his personality, but wait a minute here. Like, and what if there's more? What if there's more subtractions? Like, there's a chance there's more subtractions. Why? Once you start going, you kind of get the mood for it. It feels like they're just in the mood to subtract. Hey, they could fool us all, Tom, and have some incredible amount of moves coming up. Boom, 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 boom. Ha ha! Yep. Look at this. Look at what we've done. They're smart.
Domino.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you get Jimmy Butler involved in that. I don't know if I want to play Jimmy and Dominoes though.
No.
Jimmy versus Parag and Dominoes. That might be a good one. But
I see a Netflix special.
Yeah, if that happens, I will praise them. I guarantee you I'll praise them. I do not sense that's happening though.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I know you follow odds like I do, Vegas odds, and this is after these are always fluid. So this is after free agency, and I found this kind of interesting. I was looking at the NFC odds to win the Super Bowl, and you had the Green Bay. I'll just pick out some of the ones that I think are probably the top ones. Green Bay Packers 22-1, Detroit Lions 9-1. The Rams were 22-1. I'm assuming Philly is going to be Philly 6.5-1. The Niners, and this is after free agency, 18-1. I think they're third in the NFC to win the championship. I think behind Philly and Detroit, unless I'm missing somebody. What are the Commanders? They're Washington 16-1. They got them by a smidge. I found that kind of interesting from where they were, and we have to go from where they were, right? They used to be last year. They were favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they were even ahead of the Chiefs. They were favorites to win the Super Bowl. What do you make of that a little bit? And look, Vegas isn't always right. They could be way off on this one, but to me, that sounds about right. Like they're still kind of in the mix somewhere, but they're not where they used to be, which is top dogs in the NFC. They're probably like fourth in the NFC right now. That sounds about right. How do you see it?
Yeah, they still got good players. I mean, I keep saying that people think I'm killing them. I think they're terrible. No, I don't think they're terrible. I think they got good players, and I think they got a good coaching staff. So, and they could hit the draft. They could, draft somebody great at 11 and on down the line. But I also think they're a public team, 100% public. They're so much of
no doubt
more and more a public team. They are the Cowboys in a lot of ways, especially because Vegas is close to the Bay Area. You get a lot of Bay Area people going there, putting money down. The Cowboys are relentlessly overhyped, over odds. There's just the 49ers are in that, and it's getting more that way every day. It's just an immense fan base and when you have an immense fan base, they put bets down on their favorite team to win the Super Bowl. Okay. But also, I think it's good to put in perspective. It's not like these other teams are loaded, although I would watch for the Commanders. I would watch for them. And the Lions, we'll see. They're obviously an immensely talented team. They're adding. There's a team that's adding. So, team that was better than the 49ers last year and is adding. The Vikings were better than the 49ers last year and they're adding. That would scare me, but I get the odds. I understand it. Just again, hey, we react to all the numbers. I see the numbers for my stories when I write about the 49ers. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, this is a massively interested fan base that in large part is massively mad at me at sporadic moments, including right now. But that's okay. But many people are, I was said on social media. I mean, 3 people at the Warriors game, because we have to kind of walk up the stands to get to the press box, take the elevator. They're like, stop me. And they're not asking me about Kuminga. They're not asking me about Steph. They're asking me, what are the 49ers doing on the defensive line? Like 3 different people. So it's out there. It's just a massive team. So some of this, I think, they're the Cowboys now in some betting circles. Just they're a public team. People like to bet on their favorite teams, and there's a ton of people who love to follow the 49ers. We'll see. And again, I'm not predicting the end of the world. Now, the end of the world might be in a year or two. We'll see. But I'm just saying, man, just think of it this way. The Lions are trying to get better. The Vikings are trying to get better. The Eagles are trying to get better. And the 49ers have decided to get a little bit worse. That's not a great place to be in after 6-11, after a team that was leading in the Super Bowl in the overtime, not much more than a year ago. But I get it. There's some really good players. They're getting, if they get them healthy, I'll take, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Fred Warner, and Brock Purdy, and Brandon Ayuk. But are they going to be all healthy? Who are their backups? And, no Debo. It makes me wonder. I would think the Commanders should be significantly better odds than the 49ers, but that's okay. It's Vegas. We'll play it out. Everybody play it out. The 49ers are a good playoff team. We know that. They go win 2 playoff games every time they're in it, and they have a dip, and they come back, and they win 2 games, and they come in the playoffs. So I'm cool. I mean, it's something to keep in mind on. No question. It's something to keep in mind. But I kind of like the Cowboys are always in that number, right? Where are the Cowboys this year?
Oh, God. I'll tell you what, if the Cowboys are any better than they because to me, the Cowboys should be about 40-1.
Yeah.
30, I undersold them. Cowboys are 60.
Wow.
60-1.
That's a public team that people are not so public about anymore. So maybe the 49ers just replace the Cowboys as the public team.
Not fans at all.
I mean, and
I was a little surprised. I thought the Rams would be it. No, the Rams are 22-1.
Yeah, I think that's incorrect. I think that's incorrect. The Rams are way, way better than the 49ers last year. They're young. They're going to get better. Now Stafford's older, but he's a real deal quarterback. I'm surprised, but again, not as many Rams fans as there are 49er fans. They're just not. It's not even close on the measurement. You just go to SoFi Stadium and for a 49ers Rams game, and it's red, man. It is full.
Yeah, not even in LA. Are there more Rams fans?
No, it's not.
Here's what you'll find interesting. So to win the division, the Rams are plus 186. So you bet 100, you win 186. The Niners are plus 108. Bet 100, win 108. So they're, I won't say significantly favored, but they're favorites to win the division. And then Seattle and Arizona are both at 7-1. So yeah, I'm with you because I look at the Rams this year and I'm thinking, although look, schedule factors in too. I mean, the schedule, this is the easiest schedule the Niners have had forever. I think I looked at this schedule. Yep, they have I want to say it's 4th easiest schedule at home and the 3rd easiest schedule on the road, or vice versa. But so that factors into a little bit too. So, but again, I just bring that up to say that it's still interesting where Vegas views them. Not that they're always right, but that they still kind of view them in a spot, maybe because of the schedule, that they're going to be in the mix somewhere, but maybe not as high up in the mix as they have been. Hey, before we run, I know you can't spend too much time. We're going to get into all this. When you come out in the backyard, we'll get into Kuminga, the Warriors. We'll have a good time for a couple hours. But let me just ask you about Steph's 4,000 last night, because I'm so used to watching him play and watching what he does that I definitely take him for granted. Like, he makes shots that nobody else would even attempt, maybe him and Dame Lillard. And it just doesn't resonate as much with me because I see it night after night after night. Like, his greatness is on display. His shooting ability is on display. I always say him shooting 42% from the three-point line is so remarkable because he's a volume shooter and a percentage shooter. Like, he shoots 10 plus threes a game and still shoots 42%, while everybody gears their defense is stopping him. It just, I mean, what can you say about this guy?
Well, as you're saying this, can you imagine if he took the shots that Kyle Korver took in his career? Or,
he'd shoot 58%
JJ Redick, or even Clay. I hate to say it, even Clay. He'd
Mike
be
Bratz.
Yeah, he'd be Mike Frost. Joe Hazlitt.
Joe Hazlitt, thank you, John Sunvold.
Yeah. Unlike Tolbert, when you were out the 3, people were guarding the hell out of you. I remember.
Oh, you kidding me? They knew I'd turn it over.
If Steph, like that's like you can't even count these percentages. And like Kerr is the all-time leader in 3-point percentage.
Yep.
God bless him. But he was not taking the degree of difficulty shots that Steph
no
was
catch and shoot.
If he did, he'd be out. He'd be out of the game.
He wouldn't play.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like but I think people understand it. They're not throwing that. They get that when you're taking these kinds of shots, it's just magnified. It's to me, it's the when Andres Biedrins is given the video because he was the first. So that's what hits me.
One.
Like Andres Biedrins. Hold on, didn't he play like 40 years before Steph? And I covered it, and we all those of us, you and Tommy, and we've been around this. It's just like we feel the full extent of this. That there was a whole different feeling in this organization before Steph arrives, and some of it during. He had to endure the bad stuff for a couple of years. The elevation of where they were, let's just say before Steph, to where they are now is just impossible to fully measure. Like you cannot fully state what this has meant to have him here for this long, with this amount of I would just like class. I hate to say class because whatever, but he's exuded class. He's exuded culture. He's exuded being the perfect teammate. And it's not the stats that matter as much. Like I know Marcus has really been grumpy about this, and I agree with him. Like it's not, all time 4,000. Well, you know what? He was all time leader at 399, and
yes, he was.
And he'll be at 4,001, 4,000.
We love our round numbers, Tim.
We do, and I sometimes I react to that because I do think people go too crazy over that.
Yeah,
but Steph wanted it. You could see the team wanting it too much, and kind of screwed him up there for a couple of minutes there in the second quarter. But what it means is that this is just a milestone walking around. He's a walking, talking, dribbling, passing milestone. And what are you going to do about that? Like they're retiring Andre's. They retired Andre's uniform. That's great. Andre deserved it. They should retire Steph's like 10 times for the magnitude that he has. Like if you're going to retire Iguodala and you're going to retire Durant, obviously great player, but he was here for 3 years. Steph Curry is like, you shouldn't even retire his jersey in that manner. You should retire the whole franchise with him. That's how I feel about it. So I don't go crazy over this 4,000 thing. I don't go like, I love Curse. They asked him, how many do you think he get? He goes, 8,000. It's like, yeah, Steph's halfway there. If he really puts his mind to it. Yeah. If he gets committed once, like finally figures out how to be good. I do have a joke with my friends. It's like the newest story is that Steph is good. Like, oh yeah, by here I'm gonna do a story that Steph is good. Like, yes, I think that's kind of been figured out. That's kind of been decided. But that's all right. I've written my share of them. I'm not being sneering. I'm just saying it does sometimes like, hey, what are we writing today? Oh, let's write that Steph is good.
Exactly. No, that's why I gloss over some of the things he does because I've seen it. And I always say this, that is a true sign of greatness when you make the extraordinary look ordinary. And he does that over and over and over again. So 56 in Orlando. Oh yeah, cool. Nice effort. I mean, it was really good game. You move on. And that's who he is. But I agree with you. I'm not much on the round numbers. Before you came on, I was going, why is 500 home runs that much better than 499? It's not. It's one home run is what it is. All right, before I let you go, I'm a hardliner on this, so I want to see where you stand. My buddy Steve Kerr broke the record for victories last night as a Warriors coach to go over from Al Attles. Tied it 557, I think is what it was, or 577. I don't know. Again, I can't see. I don't care that much. But here is why I didn't care that much: is that in my mind, he stole 32 wins from Luke Walton, so he's still 32 wins shy of Al Attles and 33 wins taking him over. Like Tim Roy brought it up last night. I go, no, I'm not giving him any credit for that. Look, he stole wins. He took wins. He should be in jail for stealing those wins from Luke Walton. It's thievery is what it is. It's a crime. So I can't give him the record until he actually gets 33 more wins. How do you feel?
That is such a Ratto thing too. I've had arguments with Ratto. I might have an argument with you on this. The Ratto is like really, 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 really into that. And I go the opposite way, having covered Don Nelson, a man you've been coached by, and you know,
yeah, love Nelly.
He used to walk away from teams when they stunk. Now it did happen. So like so someone else should get those losses. Like you can just like, hey, you know what? I'm not. Obviously, it's a very different case with Steve. He was sick. They won this thing. It was whole setup. Whatever. But I think the rule is in place that the coach, who's the named coach, whether he's actually coaching the team that night or not, gets it put on his record, because they don't want guys to go, you know what, this team stinks, I'm going to take a leave of absence. So you know what, somebody else, you wear it. Keith Smart, you wear it. Someone else, you know, not that Don Nelson would do that. Wink, 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 wink. So that's like, if you put the structure in place, if you've hired the staff, if you're running your system, I am fully okay with the record being the record. But yeah, I understand your point, and believe me, I've had it shouted into my ear from Ratto over and over again. But, you know, in the wins case, it's a better argument for you guys, certainly.
Yeah.
Than it is the loss case. But I say you got to have the same rule.
Agreed.
And again, having been there for Nelly, when he would always take his leaves when the team was bad, never when the team was good. So, like, I just don't like the idea of going, you know what, this next road trip's kind of tough. We're playing at Boston and at New York. Like, you know what? Someone else go ahead and coach this team. Terry Stotts, why don't you go ahead and coach this team? And I'll come back when you it's kind of like the on-off stats when you get offense, defense. So the guy who plays offense never has to be on the court when the other team is scoring. It's like, is that really great? I am not the one to endorse this, mostly for for the losing part. But as you can tell, I'm already prepared for these arguments because I've heard them. And
I see that. Yeah, you had the bullet chambered on that one. You're like ready to go. The only flaw I can see in your argument is, look, I don't have to have the same rule. I can change rules whenever I want to. Yeah, you wear the losses, you don't get the wins. Period. So I'm trying. Nelly,
you do that. I might be,
you don't get the win.
Or just Don Nelson is excerpted from this rule. Everyone else just lives by it.
I love Nelly.
Jesus, Don's taking some time off now. I wonder why he is. Oh, it's because Anthony Tolbert is his best player, so that's why that happens.
Oh, brother, we're going way back now.
Sorry, Nelly. Sorry about that. I'm sure you're listening.
Oh, man. Tim, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the time. I know it's been a super busy week with the Niners free agency and all that. But yeah, once this thing settles down, would love to have you come on over, hang out in the backyard. We'll grab a cocktail and we'll go over Warriors and Niners and just kind of talk about sports. I love getting into sports history and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely. I can't wait till you can do it. That'll be a fun day.
We're going to do it, Tommy. Absolutely. But great to be on with you.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Tim Kawakami of The Standard. Make sure you get your subscription. That's good stuff. Tim always has good stuff. And the great thing about Tim is he makes you feel something when he writes, right? Whether you love what he says, you hate what he says, you think he's being a jerk, whatever. He makes you feel something.